I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Bigger, roll call, please.
Harrington.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Musgrave. Here. Brandon.
Here.
Kinnaman.
Here.
Kyer.
Here.
Delaney.
Here, we have a quorum. Consent agenda. All items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the Village Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately immediately after consent agenda approval in its normal sequence on the regular agenda.
I would like to call for 9 to be brought down, the schedule of dates.
Item 9 then becomes item 5 under new business.
Technically 6,
Actually 6.
because on the back.
Oh, no, actually, we should make it 5 because 5 should become the end. We go into closed session.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of number 9 to new business as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Musgrave to approve the consent agenda as amended. Support by Perkins. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Public comment. Members of the public may address council once recognized by the chairperson. Comments are limited to a maximum of 4 minutes for items not on the agenda. Council may extend this time by up to an additional 4 minutes by a majority vote. For items on the agenda, comments may be made after council discussion prior to council vote. Prior to addressing council, members of the public will please state their name and address for the record. Is there any public comment tonight? Yes. Come on up to the podium, please.
All right, my name is Tina Thurlow. I'm from the American Legion, down the street, 408 South Saginaw Street.
Please
Okay.
proceed, yeah.
I really wanted to come here tonight to invite you guys, all of you, personally, to our event that we're having on July 8th at the American Legion. It is a community market fun day. So we're actually going to have booths for crafters and informational booths available for anybody. If anybody wants a booth here, we have a few available left. We're going to have games, free games, food trucks, a lot of fun. We have a live band, so it'll be a really fun event, and I just wanted to come down and invite you all to be part of it. I have a couple of flyers that if anybody wants them, that I could pass out if you're interested. Again, it's on July 8th. The booth, to rent a booth is $30 for the day, and you can have inside or outside booth. And it's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I just wanted you guys to all know that it was happening, and I would like you guys to come down or have a booth maybe to kind of share some information with other people.
Can you share what band?
Oh, the band that we're going to have there is Dumb and Drummer. I don't know if any of you have heard them before. We've had them at the Legion. They are a 3-piece band, play a lot of a big variety of music, so everybody will like them. The band will be outside. We'll have cotton candy, popcorn, and all kinds of fun things to make it enjoyable. You guys have any other questions?
Any questions?
I'd like to say thank you for your service as the new commander at the American Legion.
Thank you. Starts Saturday. Yes, I'm excited. I think it'll be a great time. I've been working with Richard and picking his brain a lot, so thank you for your help. Any other thoughts or questions about the event? I do have business cards also, so if anybody is interested in having a booth or wants some information, I can give you one of my business cards, and then you guys can just call me.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Thurlow.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Yeah, Mr. Koskela.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Jim Koskela, 207 North Saginaw. First, Ms. Musgrave, I'm sure everyone's as happy as I am to see you here, so hello. Glad you're here. Also, want to thank Mr. Walker. I shot him an email the other day, and it was not a long email, but quite a particular question about how to run a board, or a legal question.
It was long.
Hey, I do send I do send long emails when you don't need to, probably. So I'm sorry if you've gotten a long email from me, but the answer came back and it was exactly what I needed. So thank you. Next one, food truck law. I was talking with I think it was Mr. Kinnaman about a food truck law, and I've looked, and I don't think we have a food truck law. If we do, like you can point me to it, that'd be great. But I'm a little concerned with the food trucks that come into Holly, especially if they're not from Holly. So we'll have food trucks come in that are out of town, and they'll park near our businesses in some instances, and then we advertise, hey, come and get or not us, but it will be advertised, hey, come get a quick bite to eat and leave. Well, they're right next to our businesses in some instances, which I think could hamper that. And it's my understanding our attorney, Mr. Gildner, has recently, a couple years ago, had worked on Linden's food truck law. So we have someone with a lot of experience right here that could see something through. The other one, we have storm drains that I think are clogging up, and I haven't talked to Mr. Klassen yet about this, and I know he would be very receptive. And
I was going to bring it up tonight.
yeah, he would talk to me, and he's a great individual. I just haven't talked to him, so I apologize for not talking to him first. But if there's a schedule or something that we could do for storm drains, or I think I was looking online, and some communities will actually advertise adopting a storm drain. So the one next to my house or near my house, I will make sure it's clear. So if there was a way we could advertise that too, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Koskela. Anyone else for public comment? All right. Seeing none, hearing none, we have a public hearing regarding fiscal year 2023-2024 proposed budget. I do believe we need a motion and support and a roll call vote to enter into that public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Musgrave, support by Kinnaman to enter into public hearing. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Brandon.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. We enter public hearing at 6:08 p.m. Mr. Walker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and Council. So the public hearing tonight, as you said, is regarding the fiscal year budget for fiscal years 23-24. In total, all revenues for all of the budgets, which include the general fund, the water, the sewer, the garbage fund, the downtown development authority, highway transportation, lake improvement, local road, major road, and again, general fund, is $10,810,529. Total projected expenditures is $10,741,483. So if you look at it just in a little more detail, the general fund revenue for this year is projected at $3,944,647, and so that's a slight increase from last year. And the expenditures $933,191. And so there's not a great amount of surplus that is projected there, just a little over $11,000. We did build money into that budget, as we talked during budget workshops, for renovations at Cyclone Park for that building, regardless of what the future use of that building is, whether it becomes a village office or it is determined to be used for some other purpose, there's some extensive rehabilitation and renovation that needs to occur there. If you've been back by that building, it is at the point now to where it either needs to be rehabilitated or demolished, one or the other. So, I mean, we did build a substantial amount of money in to just take care of that issue. As far as new employees for the village, we talked at a couple of council meetings ago about a new full-time police officer. The majority of that cost is being picked up by the Holly area schools at a cost of over $100,000 for salary and benefits, and that's part of the increase in general fund revenues also. So remember, revenues, they correspond with expenditures, but over $100,000 of that is coming from Holly area schools, just in that one position. And then we have budgeted another position to give Director Clausen some relief in the clerical area in a part-time employee for that. So for many years now, the last 3 or 4 years, Director Clausen has done all of his own clerical in regards to any correspondence in and out of the building, filing, as well as tracking his 9 budgets that he's responsible for. And so it was way overdue on that. So that really is the bulk of the budgets. And so I think if the public would have any comment on the budgets, this would be the appropriate time for that. In the future, new business item 2 will be going into a little more detail on the budgets for adoption.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Is there any public comment desired on the budget? Yes, Ms. Mattson.
Hannah Mattson, 1509 Western Valley Drive. Hello, Council. Today I ask you to reallocate funds within this proposed budget. For about a year, I've gone to pretty much every meeting, and the ones I cannot attend, I make sure to watch online. This is what I've learned. The Parks Board is the most driven to make an impact in their community and have an incredible network of volunteers. Yet their budget is almost non-existent. Almost every day I see people asking for things to do with their families. The Parks Board can fulfill the community's needs if given the resources to do so. I looked up a list of all villages in Michigan, and the one that is most similar to ours is the village of Milford. Our population is only about 100 people less. Milford is also similar to us geographically. So when I compare us to them, it's not like I'm comparing apples to oranges, I'm comparing apples to apples. When looking at their budgets, their parks totals $248,000, where ours is $58,000. Now, I'm going to shift gears here a bit. When I make these comments, please understand that I'm talking about the DDA director, not the specific person who occupies the position. Numerous times I've witnessed and staff has commented that the DDA director is not just in charge of the DDA. He acts more as a co-manager in the office. Just recent, he worked on the Parks Master Plan. This is not a DDA function. As far as I know with government budgets, if you allocate money for something, it needs to be spent that way. The taxpayers pay for a full-time DDA director, but really they get a part-time DDA director and a part-time co-manager. It is time that this gets addressed. If the needs in the DDA do not justify a full-time employee, then that needs to be considered as well. I know these are tough decisions. At the end of the day, it's about what will best serve the taxpayers with their money that they've invested in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mattson. Anyone else for public comment? All right. Seeing none, hearing none, we can, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Brandon, support by Musgrave to close public hearing. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Brandon.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Tyre.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Public hearing closed at 6:15 p.m.
Thank you.
There is no old business. Item number 1, under new business, consideration of the approval of Resolution 2023-030, amending the water supply and sewer disposal rates.
Yes,
Mr.
thank
Walker?
you, thank you, Mr. President and Council. So you have before you Resolution 2023-030. This pertains to recommended increases in the water and sewer rates. You might remember that we had Brian Kammerer from Plant Moran attend our budget workshops, one of them, in which he talked about a rate study that he did. During that rate study, he did a comprehensive study, and we try and have Plant Moran assist us with that type of study about every 5 or 6 years, just so we get that outside look and some professional accounting help in doing that. And then in the interim times, in between those professional studies, studies are done in-house by Ms. Bigger, Mr. Clausen, and myself presently. So this year's again was by Mr. Kammerer. He recommended increases after his study of 2.6% in water and 2.7% in sewer. We continued to study the numbers after that study was done with Mr. Kammerer and consulted with him. And what we are recommending is increases of 2% and not the 2.6 and 2.7. We feel that the 2% is adequate, and rather than increasing above the level that we have in the past, this is our recommendation to you today.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the
motion.
motion. Go ahead.
Putting that on me, huh?
I started.
I make a motion to approve the consideration of approval of Resolution 2023-030, amending the water supply and sewer disposal rates at 2.6% for water and 2.7,
No.
No,
2%.
2%.
sorry,
For each.
2% increase for both water and sewer.
Support.
Right, motion by Brandon, support by Musgrave.
Mr. President, if I
yeah.
can, before you go into discussion, just one last detail that I wanted to point out. And so really what that equates to, that 2% increase, is a 16-cent per 1,000-gallon increase in water and a 27-cent per 1,000-gallon increase in sewer. So it's a nominal increase, but it is still an increase, so I think it's something to be considered seriously. If you look on the very last page of the graph, we show a history since 2011 of kind of where the rates have gone. And you can see we were able to decrease the base rate throughout those years and then held the consumption or the use rates to a minimum level. And so I just wanted to point out that additional information.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Is there any council discussion desired on this item? Is there any public comment desired on this item?
You know what, if you don't
Yeah,
mind?
go right ahead.
I'd just like to remind the public that might be watching or sitting present that water being an enterprise only funds itself, and that the water maintenance is necessary for the people that didn't see the presentation that we all got to see. So I do think that this increase is absolutely necessary to keep, our water quality and everything where it needs to be. It could be better too, but 2% is minimal.
Thank you.
I'd like to comment, please. Also, too, for those that may not be aware, we have always been told that we are behind on what we should be charging for water and sewer. I know it seems like we're paying a fortune, but really to where we're supposed to be, we should be much higher. And we have worked very hard to keep these rates lower so that we didn't have to raise the rates up to where they should be. So 2% is very minimal compared to what it could be.
Yep, I was speaking with someone today from another community, and they said their community just made a 63%, I think, increase in their rates. 2% is pretty manageable, I would hope.
Any further council discussion desired on this item? Seeing none, hearing none. Is there any public comment desired on this item? Seeing none, hearing none. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 2, under new business, consideration of the approval of Resolution 2023-032, acknowledging receipt of and adoption of the Village of Holly fiscal year 2023-2024 General Appropriations Act. Mr. Walker?
Thank you, Mr. President and Council. This resolution 2023-032 is for the receipt and the adoption of the fiscal year budget for 23-24. It details not only the budget itself, but it has an increase, or not really an increase, but it states what the garbage rate is going to be for this next fiscal year, because council sets that. Each year they do it with this vehicle resolution, and it also sets the millage rate for this upcoming year. And so as we talk in a little more detail now, I'll talk about what each of those are. Again, the total budget for the village, including the enterprise funds and all the separate funds, revenue is $10,810,529. Expenditures or appropriations of $10,741,483. In the general fund, which is the main budget that the village uses in order to pay bills and to pay for those operations not covered by special funds, the revenue side of that is $3,944,647, with expenditures at $3,933,191, a difference of $11,456 to the good. So in my budget letter that was at the beginning of your budget, we did talk about those different types of funds, those being general fund, special revenue funds, special assessment funds, and enterprise funds. And so the village, like many communities throughout southeast Michigan, saw an increase in the taxable value of our community. And those of you who have purchased a home, sold a home, you've seen that. But we see that in our community, and that has led to some increase in property taxes. Really not as much as people think, but there definitely has been an increase. We also saw an increase in revenue, as I said during the public hearing, from the Holly area schools in the hiring of a new full-time officer, which they are paying 83% of, over $100,000, as well as they agreed to some increases for the existing school resource officers, as well as the use of some equipment, police cars and other things that are involved in that school resource officer function. In total, Holly Area Schools has 3 school resource officers. For a school district our size, I give a lot of credit to the Holly Area Schools, I think, for their foresight and their wisdom of contracting and paying for that type of protection and presence in the schools. So it's a smaller school district, but the resources that they've devoted to that directly reflect on our budget too, because they pay us to provide that under the leadership of Chief Narsh. And so we talked about millage rate. So our millage rate last year was 11.6506 mils. That millage rate is to stay the same this year. And it stays the same this year instead of a rollback due to the rate of inflation being high, and it didn't trigger a Headley rollback. So you remember the combination of Headley rollback and Prop A, that's what limits the amount of mills that a municipality can charge, but it also triggers a rollback if certain formulas don't work out. But our millage rate is staying exactly the same for that. The other rate or fee that council sets during this resolution is that of garbage service, refuse. And so that is remaining the same, also at $200 per household. So there's been a freeze on that and no millage increase. The only increase that's projected in the budget is that of the water and sewer rates. Again, the only new employees to be hired in this budget are that full-time police officer as well as a part-time clerical. As far as other costs, employee-related, of course, we have the normal benefit rates that increase, just like everybody else in every job, the health insurance, the dental, the eye vision, the life insurance, that all increases, and so those are included in there. There are contractual raises this year at an average of 3% for union and non-union employees across the village. So would council have any questions regarding this year's proposed budget?
I have one. That's okay. How many years do we have left on the garbage contract?
I believe it's 2026. It's either 25 or 26. I believe it's 26.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions from council for Mr. Walker or Ms. Spicker?
So, talking about how the Headley Amendment affects the millage, where are we in relation to our village, our income, our revenues compared to pre-recession about
We were at 20 mils.
12 years ago or so? Mhm.
We were at 20 mils.
We were at 20 mils then, and so we're at 11 now. And dollar-wise, have we caught back up to that amount, that dollar amount?
No, so I began with the village in 2010. And just a couple of years before that, I think it was 07 and 08, the revenues were, general fund revenues, were in the area of 4.3 million. And so this year, as I said, we're still at 3.9 million. So we're still almost $500,000 below what we were prior to those times.
Yeah, almost 15 years ago.
Yes.
Yep.
And frankly, I mean, that's why we have fewer employees today than we did back then. I mean, I think Director Clausen would be the first one to tell you there was a time when the Department of Public Works had over 10 employees. Today, he's doing that same job and more with 5 employees plus himself and a couple of part-time help. And the police department had over 10 police officers. And of course, they are less than that today. And so it's just a product of revenue. You can't spend what you don't have.
Right. It's one of those things that I've kind of looked at a little bit, is what happened to communities, especially due to the Headley Amendment during the recession, and how most communities have not caught back up
No.
from that, and our expenses have continuously increased from that time period. So rather than just being $500,000 short from even being even with 15 years ago, you know, we have probably $1.5 million to $2 million shortfall in, you know, where our revenue could be, as well as the expenses that were, you know, that should be there.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So early on, when the recession was first hitting and severe cuts were occurring, Oakland County, through their economic development, they were telling us that it would be 2025, 2026 before we caught back up. I don't think that, this is 23, I don't see us catching up 500,000 in the next couple of years. I don't see that occurring. And I think it's a
Right.
good point you make about cost increasing still. So we're still going to be farther behind than we were then, because we're not only not going to catch up, but costs are going to increase.
Yeah.
So one other point, just real quickly, and only because Ms. Manson brought it up, and I think it's a valid point about parks are a quality of life issue. There's no question about it. People locate into communities for quality of life issues. They also locate for schools, and they locate for safety of the community, as well as other services that are provided. And so while our parks budget is significantly less than Milford, because she used that as an example, I would say this, that our revenues are significantly less than the village of Milford. I mean, we are in a different community. Every community is different. Every community, while they might have the same basic needs, the ability to meet those needs is tailored toward each individual community. Now, we did listen when you were going through budget workshops, and I think some members of the audience, as well as Councilperson Kyer, talked about the need for additional parks money. And so in this budget, we did increase the parks budget by $10,000. I mean, it might sound like an insignificant amount. I think it was a pretty significant amount when you look at what is projected, that you're going to have $11,400 projected at the end.
Can I correct you though? That 10 grand actually comes from a grant.
Well, not a grant. It comes from.
Well, from the dispensaries.
Yes.
It's a donation,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, that's correct.
Right.
But it,
I'm not. I just wanted to make sure that was clarified. That it wasn't really like we took 10 grand from somewhere else. It was
yeah.
given
But
to us.
I would just say, while that money is pledged to us, we don't have that money. And so, I mean, that money was still placed in the budget. But you're right. I mean, so our budget is built of lots of revenues that are projected from other sources. Because the village, we don't, unlike the federal government, we don't print money. So, and we don't make it.
least
We
not
don't
that Jared
distribute it. Right, yeah. So we just collect it. But I would just say, so, I mean, we do listen to what council says during those budget workshops and throughout the year. You know, we added that 10,000 in there, even though we don't have it in our accounts yet. We think we will, but certainly there's no guarantee with anything. But, I mean, we budget what we think is best, and then we leave it up to you to tell us where you want to amend it.
I do hear we're getting Hollyopoly money soon, though.
We are getting Hollyopoly, that is correct.
But you can't spend that very well.
No.
No.
I had a couple questions. On there, I see that we've got 30K set aside for like a website. Do we
Yeah.
have a timetable on when we're going to be updating the website?
So we have met with the new provider a couple of times electronically, by phone, and then in person last week, and they are working up a draft that they should be forwarding to us within the next week or two. So that should be early on in the budget year.
And then you opened the door for me for the DPW and their workers. We're constantly being told, you know, like, try to find things that are low maintenance and stuff because they're already overwhelmed. Have we thought about hiring more part-time people, you know, maybe not a salaried employee, but maybe just through the summer months so that we can keep up with those kind of maintenance things? I know the budget's tight.
Yeah, and so we actually have some funds built in for additional people. I mean, truthfully, the problem is getting people to apply for those positions. So just like many other fields, they're not workers. There used to be a time to when colleges were getting ready to let out for the summer, that the college students would be lined up looking for a part-time job, or a retiree, you know, young retiree, would be looking to come on. Those days are not here anymore. Currently, we have hired a contract lawn maintenance service to do the parks, all but Lakeside Park, because Director Clausen advertised for those type of workers last year, and did not get one application. So we do have some funds budgeted for part-time help. We will continue to look for that because you're absolutely right. That is at least the short-term answer. The long-term answer, if it becomes more available, is to hire full-time personnel, but that's a costly endeavor.
And then one last question.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm new here.
No, you're fine.
In regard to the raises, you said they're contractual. Now, is that every year? Is it written into their contract that it's like a COLA increase, cost of living?
Yeah, so we negotiate with our collective bargaining units on 3-year increments. And so the fire department's contract is up this year, and then the Teamsters and the police officers have 2 different bargaining units. One for the patrol officers, one for the command officers, are up in 25.
So let's say like we get into a really sticky situation where we may not have to be able to give raises without maybe cutting things. You could only wait after that 3 years to negotiate to not give a raise, or?
You can always negotiate with them.
Okay.
However, I mean, those are their contractual raises. They don't have to agree to them. I mean, usually those type of negotiations get really messy because you start talking about laying off personnel if concessions are not made. I mean, I don't think we're in that situation. I don't anticipate us being in that situation this year, but yeah, that's
just
it.
an example. Yeah. if
Yeah,
we
no,
were
for
in
sure.
that
Well, and in
position.
fact, back in the early teen years, the 2012 and 13, 14, back in that area, the police department, as well as myself, we did take pay freezes, and we took 0% raise in order to avoid the layoff of one patrol officer.
Okay, perfect. And I think that's it.
Any other questions or comments from council? I do believe we still need a motion and support on this item, and I have not forgotten public comment.
I'll make the motion to approve the budget.
Motion by Kinnaman, support by Perkins to approve the 2023-2024 budget. Is there any further council comment desired before we proceed to public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. Is there any public comment desired on this item? Mr. Koskela.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, again, Jim Koskela, 207 North Saginaw. One item that wasn't discussed is your guys' salary. Let's bump it up. I mean, I don't think you guys are going to propose it yourself, so I'll be the one that proposes it. I know the township, there's a significantly more than you guys. I'm not saying who does more, who does less, but if you're comparing, they're getting paid more than you guys. And I think if you look at some of the other municipalities, you guys are on the lower end as well. So, thank you.
Can I comment on that
Oh,
one?
yeah, yeah.
That was a matter that was looked at by council actually prior to myself being in initially, and it needs to be a ballot item in order to change that. It's in the charter, and yes, this rate has existed since the 1970s. But I as well know of another community that pays only about 20% of what we're getting. When it was on the ballot, it was defeated or did not pass.
In
So
2020, correct?
Yes, I believe it's
Yeah.
2020. Yeah. So we're grateful to be servants.
Any other public comment desired on this item? Seeing none, hearing none, we can proceed to a roll call vote.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Brandon,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 3, under new business, consideration of the approval of Resolution 2023-031, amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget.
Yes,
Mr.
thank you,
Walker.
Mr. President and Council. So Resolution 2022-23 has to do with really balancing the budget. So state law requires that each municipality carry a balanced budget as it closes out. That's what this document does. If you look at the proposed surplus deficit columns, that in the red and parenthesized are deficits. And the black is what's over. So these amendments are to adjust the budget to actual revenues and expenditures as presented on the attached documents that you have. So this is really a housekeeping matter on the treasurer's end. And she does an excellent job with this, as she does with the entire budget always.
Well, I appreciate the transparency. What's with the redundancy? It seems like administrative paperwork, and this isn't our job, so it's just to show us.
I can't amend a budget unless council approves me amending a budget.
So that's just written into the
we're-
charter that this is how
Yes.
it,
If we're out of
Thank
budget
you.
though, we stop work. But I still have to have council's approval.
Just
for me
like we
to amend it.
approved the budget now, these are fixes to the one we approved a year ago
Correct.
to make it
Because you approved
match.
it by resolution, and I can't change it unless I have a resolution too. Because you approved it to begin with.
sure, okay, thank
So
you.
you get to approve me changing it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
This sewer and water fund, this is only for the current 2022-23 budget, does not include the 2% increase for
Correct.
23-24.
That is correct.
I thought so, I just wanted to confirm that.
Yes.
That'll start next month.
July 1st.
August.
The
It would
increase is
start
next
in
month.
August for the July usage,
Okay,
because we bill a month behind. You know, when we bill in July, it's for the June usage, and the rate won't change until after that. So it'll be the August billing, July usage.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-031, amending the budget.
Support.
Motion by Kinnaman, support by Musgrave. Is there any further council discussion desired on that item? Is there any public comment desired? Seeing none, hearing none. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Kyer,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Brandon,
yes,
Harrington,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 4, under new business, consideration of the approval of council action request to review Holly Farmers Market Tuesdays. Mr. Walker.
Yes, thank you. So this actually is a request of the council that this matter be brought back to you at the end of July during the June, or end of June, during the June meeting to discuss continuation of the market on Tuesdays through the rest of the market year, which for Tuesdays, they believe it's going to be through the end of September. So I can tell you that the market has been successful by all accounts. The market has not presented any problems that have been reported either to the village offices or the police department in regards to traffic or parking or pedestrian foot traffic around the roads, nor have any of the businesses reported any problems with it conflicting with their business as it operates in those evening hours on a Tuesday. So based upon that and based upon the request of the farmers market operator, Ms. Reagan, we would ask for council's consideration to allow them to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. What is the pleasure of council?
I'll make a motion that we approve the farmer's market operating on Tuesdays through the end of September 2023.
I'll second.
Motion by Musgrave, support by Perkins. Is there any council discussion desired?
I think the reason we did this was because there was some concern, and I have not.
Primarily parking.
Huh?
Primarily
Yes.
parking.
Primarily parking. I'm not sure I've heard any real difficulties. You know, our discussion pages haven't really talked about anything, so
Why are you looking at me?
just as I turned that way. So I think it was a good process to do the trial spot, the trial time, and that it has worked out well, so I think it's a good thing to continue.
Me also.
I'd like to bring up a question. The businesses, they seem satisfied with parking. Has there been any complaints of the residents?
No, none that has been received by my office, and none to the chief.
Thank you.
I was looking forward to comments from Ms. Algier. Do you know if she's still in the building?
No.
Okay.
She's gone.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any public comment desired on that? Mr. Koskela.
Thank you, Mr. President and Council. Still Jim Koskela at 207 North Saginaw. So I've spoken to several people about my disdain for loud generators. So hopefully we can, and it's I always complain to someone, and I think my wife would say, be the change you want to see. So I do not like loud generators, and I think that's one of the issues right now with the farmer's market is it's quite loud with the food trucks. So I don't have a good solution for that. So just getting on the record. The other thing is for the parking concerns in her in the host's packet, there is instructions where the vendors are supposed to park, and I believe they're instructed to either park if they have to right behind their thing, or over by the billboard that's over there. So they're instructed. The vendors are instructed to park away. So hopefully that does alleviate some things. I think that's a good idea. And the last thing, no, that was the last thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Troublemaker.
Anyone else for public comment on this item? All right, seeing none, hearing none. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 5 under new business. Previously, item number 9 under consent agenda. Consideration of the approval of resolution 2023-029, setting the council, board, and commission meeting dates for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Yep,
Mr.
I
Kinnaman.
asked to have that brought down. The one date in the planning commission that falls the day before Thanksgiving, I would like to see if we could move that to the 29th from the 22nd. It would be a whole lot easier than most of that commission does not come to a meeting the day before Thanksgiving. Even the schools are closed that day. It's a travel day, so that, and it's my birthday, so
I mean, real
that's the no.
You tell me.
So I would like to suggest a change to November 29th for the Planning Commission. And I would make a motion then to approve the calendar as amended.
No second. Fine.
Motion to approve the calendar as amended by Kinnaman, support by Musgrave.
He can have it if you want.
Get his name on it.
Excuse me,
that
support
much.
by Harrington.
As long as I get it.
Is there any council discussion desired on that? Is there any public comment desired on that? Ms.
Other
Bigger, roll call,
commissioner
please.
there.
Musgrave.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkin.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Reports. Mr. Walker.
Yes, thank you. In addition to my written report, I have just 3 items. The first being our 4th of July annual fireworks are Tuesday, of course. They will be at dusk, so we expect another stellar show, just as we've had in the past. So there was a $2,000 increase in the cost of fireworks this year, so our fundraising efforts are still ongoing, just so you know, but I'm confident that we'll reach that mark. We raise funds jointly for the July 4th fireworks as well as the holiday fireworks in September. So we're still working on that. Always in need of volunteers. If anybody is interested, Hillary, or anybody on council, we're always looking for volunteers. It's a great way to mingle with the community, so it's very, very well attended. Lots of car traffic, parking mostly from people out of town. Most people in town walk to the event, and so we get to see them as they pass through the gates. Next is, we've talked for quite some time about road paving or resurfacing on South Broad, basically from Waterworks Park to the railroad tracks near Junction Street. That bid was accepted and approved by council. That work is to begin in mid-July. When we get exact date, we will let council know, as well as the community, through updates through our news sources. So that's coming. The last part is we just received word from the state of Michigan through our engineers at Rowe regarding the scoring of our application for that water sewer infrastructure work. So we didn't score as high as we would like to have to receive grant money. So there are about 100 communities that they deem are worse off than we are across the state that made application. So we are still waiting to hear what that means for us as far as low interest financing, if any of that is available. You know, it just depend upon the size of the projects, and again, we have about 100 communities ahead of us. So we will keep you updated on that as we hear through that process. But if you don't swing the bat, you don't know if you're going to hit the home run. And so we did it. I think it was a good effort and exercise for us, help for us to better evaluate our needs as we go forward. And we will stay on it and keep applying, and we'll see what type of financing becomes available through that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Gildner, anything for us?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bigger.
No, I guess nothing. I was gonna pass out calendars, but Mr. Kinnaman said.
Just right.
Just a little helpful hint. If you let us know ahead of time, we'll have materials ready for you.
I could have printed them, but, I mean, I have printed ones if anybody would like a copy, and just cross out that date. I will print the corrected one, but our meetings start next week, so.
All right.
I'm good.
Board and commission updates and council comments. Ms. Kyer.
I just want to say thank you for all the work that you did to put this budget together.
Thank
It
you.
tested every bit of my brain this weekend. So I appreciate that. And I think that's about it. For the parks, we did wrap up our master plan, and hopefully we will have that to you guys soon.
Thank you, Ms. Kyer. Mr. Kinnaman.
Planning Commission meets tomorrow night, and there's been a lot of questions all over the place about the dealership building that one of the dispensary licenses has gone to, and we will be reviewing site plans at this point for a complete demolition and new building to go in there. So that will be on our agenda tomorrow night.
From the gallery.
From the gallery, yes. On behalf of the chamber, I want to thank the community for coming out to a fabulous second annual North End Food Truck Rally and Concert. I think we had over 600 people attend. All the vendors were pleased, and the band was well received, and I think it was a good event for the community. We need to add more picnic tables next year for more places for people to sit and eat.
Many.
Plenty more. Coming up, we have a concert in the park coming up yet in July on the 20th. And as long as the weather is good, we will be at Crapo Park, 6:30 p.m. The band is called Glen Cora. It is Celtic Irish style. I have heard them in the past and specifically asked them to come. So be a good evening to come out for a free concert. So, and if it is bad weather, we move them to this building, and come anyways. Our attendance is really poor when we move here, and I understand that. But you know what? It's encouraging to an entertainer to have the community still come out and support them.
Will you be dancing?
An Irish jig? You'll have to show up and see. You'll have to show up and see. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kinnaman. Madam President Pro Tem.
There is no official chair to the environmental subcommittee, but I had made a note in my phone that after we got an update from Eagle, that we would consider whether or not a meeting for the environmental committee was necessary, and it's not, because we finally got the update from Eagle. It was a little late, but it came, and there's no additional information, and that report in full is available online if you care to see it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Perkins.
HDC met and we're considering expanding the HDC district, and we also have a new construction guidelines for historical districts that we're reviewing. Other than that, I have nothing more.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Ms. Musgrave.
Nothing to report, other than we have a meeting set up on July 10th. I believe that was at 6 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Or
That is correct.
to look at the area of moving the building and things of that nature. So.
If
And
I may,
setting-
if
and
I may
setting-
comment on what's in that. We had requested that a assessment be done of what the needs really are, and that assessment's been done, and staff has let us know that they are ready to review that, and so they will be coming to make a presentation. And with the purchase by the township of the Dawson Tire area and their interest in including the village in that, I have requested that a very detailed presentation be made if that was to be considered by our committee as well. And we'll see if we have any other presentation on the two current locations so that we have a full review. And I am looking at this meeting as strictly being presentations, and then we will schedule a later meeting to really deliberate on those options.
And just for clarity, in case anyone missed it, that is the community development subcommittee of the council, which is comprised of Mr. Kinnaman, Ms. Musgrave, and myself. All right.
We will look at the other options as well, besides
Yes.
coordinating with the township, yes.
Yep. Yep. Thank you.
Haya is a very important part of this community. Keeps our kids out of trouble. Gets sporting events set up, situated, and there's three big problems we have in this community. One, we haven't had a budget increase since, well, it's been 20 years. And then we have the volunteerism in this community is very low. Not many people willing to come out and help the kids in the programs that we put together, and attendance also. And also the scholarships. We now have two $1,000 scholarships, and we had 0 applicants. I'm sending a kid to school. She's going to OU. I would have jumped at this chance. I don't understand why, whether it be the high school not getting the information out to them, but it needs to get out there, and these scholarships need to be used.
Do you guys have a Facebook page? Like, where are these events shared?
Hyatt has a Facebook
Okay.
page, yeah.
And you share all the events and your volunteers?
I
and
don't.
Oh, but
They
some-
do.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right. I don't have anything to add except to wish everyone a very happy and safe 4th of July. Was there anything else from staff? All right. Item number 6 now is a consideration to enter into closed session to discuss employee evaluations, village clerk, treasurer, and village manager. What is the pleasure of council?
Can we take a 5-minute break?
Oh, certainly, yeah. We'll just
I'll make a motion.
do it before
to,
our, yeah.
Go into closed session for staff reviews, subject to a 5-minute break.
Conditional.
Conditional.
I support.
yes.
Right. Motion by Kinnaman, support by Harrington, to move into closed session. Ms. Bigger, roll.
That is at their request, right?
Correct.
To go into closed section. That,
Oh,
that needs to be stated.
oh, at staff's request, you're saying, yeah?
At staff's
Yes.
request, yes.
At staff's request.
Per staff's request at the beginning of my motion.
Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Harrington,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Musgrave,
Yeah.
Brandon.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries.